Now, for some business news, Kate Moody, our business editor, is here. Now, Kate, good evening to you. The EU is mulling fresh sanctions against Belarus. And of course, the aviation industry is taking action of its own. This, of course, in response to the forced landing of a Ryanair aircraft.
Yeah, Lufthansa among the latest to confirm that it will be suspending all operations to, from, or even over Belarus. The German carrier cited the dynamics of the current situation. Earlier today, it was forced to delay a flight from Minsk to Frankfurt following what was described as a security warning. Now, KLM, the Scandinavian SAS, Latvia's Air Baltic, Poland's LOT and Hungarian airline Wizz have all said that they will be avoiding Belarusian airspace. That's something that airline companies often do when it's a zone of conflict. Ukraine, meanwhile, has halted all direct flights between the two countries. The UK's Transport Secretary has suspended a permit which allows Belarus's flagship country, Belavia, to operate in the United Kingdom. The British Transport Secretary also asking all British carriers to divert any routes that would usually fly over Belarus in the interest of keeping passengers safe. You can see that tweet earlier on there. It is expected the EU may make a similar recommendation for its airlines later on. The UN's civil aviation body, meanwhile, has announced an urgent meeting for Tuesday to investigate Sunday's incident. A breakthrough on global taxation could be announced by the end of this week. That's according to the Financial Times, which reports the G7 countries are inching towards an agreement. Now, that grouping includes Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Last week, the U.S. agreed to accept a minimum corporate tax rate of 15% rather than the 21% that the Biden administration had been targeting. Opposition to such a framework by former President Donald Trump had seen him threaten tariffs on countries like France and the UK, which were pushing ahead with their own tax plans in the absence of a broader deal. Talks overseen by the OECD, meanwhile, have picked up momentum in recent months. Tech giants, which would likely bear the brunt of any changes, are bracing for higher tax bills to come. Let's check in on the day's trading action now. The major European indices closed slightly higher. Stocks in Germany, Switzerland and Austria were among those that were closed for a public holiday. The CAC 40 was up about 1/3 of a percentage point at the close. Wall Street is trending higher. Airline and cruise companies are performing well. Tech stocks trading sharply higher. The Nasdaq up 1.75% with just under an hour of trade to go. Now, all that movement on the markets has had a concrete impact on a very few personal fortunes. For a few hours today, French tycoon Bernard Arnault became the world's richest person, Forbes valuing his worth at $186.3 billion as shares of his luxury group LVMH surged. That spot has been alternating between Amazon's Jeff Bezos and Tesla founder Elon Musk. Bezos then took back the top ranking earlier on Monday as Wall Street opened. Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. Cryptocurrencies have begun to stabilize on the markets after a wild week saw billions of dollars wiped off their values. Warnings of more regulation in China and erratic comments by supporter Elon Musk have seen the likes of Bitcoin lose some 40% of its worth in the space of just a few days. Today, it's up 15% in 24 hours. The Bank of England, meanwhile, has warned that crypto assets remain potentially dangerous. The UK's third largest steel group has confirmed it will have to sell off at least one of its plants in order to stay afloat. Liberty Steel, which is owned by Sanjeev Gupta, is one of the companies to have been worst affected by the collapse of finance group Greensill Capital. 1,500 people are employed at the sites in northern England, which could be affected. And Emirates Airlines has warned Boeing that it could refuse to pay for or accept its 777X planes if the aerospace giant doesn't stick to its commitment of a 2023 delivery date. The carrier's president said he's unsure if it'll receive the first jet before 2024. Thousands of residents in Berlin have been protesting a court decision to overturn a freeze on rent payments. Landlords could start claiming thousands of euros in back rent and hiking their prices, even as many Germans struggle with the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Ellen Gainsford reports.
They're calling for, quote, rent madness to stop. These protesters are worried prices are about to skyrocket in Berlin after Germany's Supreme Court revoked a 5-year freeze.
Ich finde, wir müssen so viel Druck erzeugen mit Demonstrationen und anderen Aktionen, dass die Politik, die politisch Verantwortlichen gezwungen.
Und der Profitgier vieler Gesellschaften, vieler privaten Investoren doch versuchen, was entgegenzusetzen.
The court decided that rent policy can only be governed by federal law, not decided state by state, voiding the rent cap passed by Berlin's legislature in January 2020. The law froze rents at the level from June 2019 until 2025, after which any increases would have been limited to 1.3% per year, in line with inflation. Now it's been scrapped. More than 1.5 million apartments are affected. Renters could be asked for back pay, money that few have to hand after a difficult year marred by the pandemic. Once viewed as an affordable option, attracting artists and students for its reasonable rentals, prices have more than doubled since 2008, although Berlin still doesn't make it onto the list of the top 10 most expensive European cities. In 2020, London, Zurich and Geneva were the top 3 priciest cities to rent in.
Certainly bad timing for a lot of renters in Berlin.
It would appear so. Thank you very much indeed, our business editor, Kate Moody. Thank you. That's it from me. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay with us.